Hey guys, so today I wanted to talk about Shadowhunters, the Mortal Instruments. Now, I'm not talking about the movie that came out a couple of years ago. I cannot remember what year it came out. I'm talking about the Netflix series that debuted on January 12th on 2016. Now, this series was based on a book series written by Cassandra Clare, which started off with City of Bones and then ended off the series with City of Heavenly Fire. Um, so they decided, let's adapt this into a TV show. And straight off the bat, guys, I want to say this has probably been one of the better series I've watched. I've watched both seasons and I quite enjoyed it. Now, I didn't find it on my own. I found it. I didn't even find. I wasn't one that found it. I was told to watch it by a friend of mine, which is actually how I mostly get most of my recommendations of shows I watch is through friends. This is one of my other friends that is not in my college, surprisingly enough, because all my friends seem to be from college. It's a friend of mine that I made through my social life, and she said to me, "You gotta watch this. It's really good. You'll enjoy it. I've read the books, and they're really good." I was like, "Okay, I'll watch it and have a look." Now, it's a 2 season show. Excuse me, and I'll talk about them individually in a minute. Sorry, I keep burping. So I'll go with the first season first. Basically, the first season follows a girl by the name of Clary Frey, or Clarissa Fairchild, as she's called like throughout the show. Now, basically, she's just this normal art student. Her big dream was to go to this huge art college in New York and make, a career in art, as is a very worthy goal to work towards. But unfortunately, that doesn't happen for her, because before she has a chance to even go to the college, her mother is kidnapped by this mysterious figure, who Clary has never heard of before, has no memory of it at all, and has never been once told about this person, and suddenly her mother's been taken. So she does her best to go find her friend Simon, who is her best friend since about childhood, so she can, get his help to find her. During that time, she kind of runs into a group of 3 people: Jace, Izzy, or Isabella, and Alec. These 3 are known as Shadowhunters. And what they're doing is they're doing their jobs. Because what Shadowhunters are, now, the big organization of Shadowhunters is called the Clave. What the Clave works towards is keeping peace between the mundanes, aka humans, and the downworlders. What a downworlder is the likes of vampires, fairies, werewolves, those mythical kind of, legends and stories. That's what a downworlder is. One of those. A vampire, a werewolf, whatever. And the Shadowhunters work towards keeping peace between the mundanes and the downworlders. Basically, to be more specific, they aim to make sure the mundanes never find out about the downworlders and are not, killed because of it. There's a certain number of laws called the Accords, in which all downworlders must obey. aka, you cannot kill a mundane, you cannot show yourself to a mundane, and you cannot, what's the word I'm looking for? Threaten the peace of the world. So, season 1 follows Clary as she tries to find her mother. Basically doing everything she can to try and find her mother, who has been kidnapped. Season 2 then moves on to Clary trying to stop this big bad, protagonist from destroying the downworlders, because it's morally wrong, and that's basically what the problem is. So, with that said, it's a very easy concept to follow. There's not much I can really talk about on that. But now there's quite a few characters I want to talk about here. I didn't mention all of them. I mentioned, I think it was, 6 of the main characters. Now, I left out Magnus Bane, who is a warlock. Not for any, bad reason. It's not like he doesn't have an impact on the show. He does. It's just, I don't want it to be too long, and I could talk forever about Magnus. Just quick little throw in there. Magnus is played by Harry Shum Jr., who I'm pretty sure was also in Glee. And he plays this warlock who's kind of very, he's been around, he doesn't trust people, he's very kind of sarcastic, and he very flamboyant in the way he moves, and kind of everything's hand gestures. Kind of like what I do with my videos. But Magnus Bane is a really good character. I just didn't want to talk about him for too long, because there's not much to say on him. There really isn't. Like, he's been around a while, and he kind of like, you get most of his development towards the end, so there's not really a lot I can say about him. But I'll start off with the main character, and that is Clary Frey, or Clarissa Fairchild, or whatever way you know her if you've read the books or watched the series or seen the movie. I'll start off with her. Clarissa Fairchild, or Clary Frey, whatever way you know her, is played by Catherine McNamara in the Netflix show. As I said before, she was just this art student whose only real desire was to go to this really good art college in New York and make a name for herself in the art industry. Unfortunately, because she got pulled into this world of demons and werewolves and all that, that no longer became possible for her, which was kind of upsetting, and as you can imagine. Although, when she meets up with Jason, the other two, and starts her training as a shadow hunter, it's quite clear she's very stubborn and impulsive, in the sense that whenever they go on missions, her only objective is get the mission done so she can start looking for her mother again. And if it doesn't have anything to do with looking for her mother, and something else does, chances are she will leave the others to do the job and then go back to looking for her mother again. But this in itself, it sounds like a bad thing, but it really isn't. What I mean by that is that it just shows how much she'll do to save the one she loved, especially her mother. Now, I think I'm a little bit biased when it comes to praising Catherine McNamara about her ability to play Clary Frey, I should say. Mostly because, for people who actually know me, they know I have a really, really big soft spot for redheads, and I just think, anything to do with a redhead is amazing. Hence why I like Emma Stone quite a bit. But yeah, just trying to put my biased feelings aside for the way she looks, I think Catherine McNamara plays her quite well. Plays a stubborn kind of, I really want to save my mother character quite well. And I've heard, now I've not really seen the movie, I've heard that the one, I can't remember her name, the one that played her in the movie didn't do such a bad job, but I've definitely heard that Catherine McNamara does a much better job. Okay, so move on to the next character, which is the acting leader, as I probably would be best term to use here, since it's never really classified if there is a leader of this little group. I'll call him the acting leader, and that's Jace Wayland. Jace is played by Dominic Sherwood, and honestly, I think out of all the characters, Jace is the one that kind of had the smallest impression on me at the start. Most because I just saw, oh, he's just one of these kind of, cool pretty boys who is no good to anybody, and he's just going to be trouble further down the line. And to some degree, I was right in assuming that. But Jace has got quite a bit of background to him. He's got a very dark past, like a very dark kind of history with his father figure, who, is later, kind of revealed in the show. But he does tell quite a few dark stories about his father. Now, it's obvious he harbors feelings for Clary. It really is. It's just everything he does once he meets her is for her benefit. It's actually near obsessive, to the point where another one of the team members, Alec, his supposed blood brother, if that's the best term to use here, actually gets kind of jealous, because Jace then starts to do everything and danger the team just to follow Clary's instructions to help him find a mother. Sorry for the sudden change of lighting in my room. It just got really dark. So as I was saying, Jace is probably the character I rate the least out of the entire show. Mostly because I don't really like the character. He's very angsty, very kind of like, woe is me. And his obsession with Clary almost borders on kind of creepy. And I do say that. I mean, I can understand pretty face, you want to do everything to impress her. But he's going out of his way and endangering his team, or I suppose his family, because he grew up with the other two, just for this girl. And I'm just like, no, just don't do that. Please don't. You're cool and everything, you're badass, you're a good fighter. You don't need to be obsessive. It takes away from the character. That's not to say that Dominic Sherwood's portrayal of him isn't good. I like the way he's acting, and I like the way the acting is done and the script is written. Just the character annoys me a little bit. If that is the way he is, I just don't like the character. That's as simple as that. I'll quickly try and get through the characters pretty quickly, because I don't want to let this video go on too long. So the next character I will talk about is Jace's supposed blood brother, or Parabatai as they called him in the show, Alec. Now Alec is played by Matthew Daddario, and honestly, my opinion anyway, probably the best looking in the entire show. Like, one of the guys anyway. Um, Alec is very loyal to his family and very loyal to Jace, especially considering like they're blood brothers or parapetite. But the only downside to Alec is he's very dutiful and very kind of like these are the rules, you have to go by them. There's no way he'll go off them, and if he does, it's not without complaint. He's also one of these characters, as you can probably imagine. He doesn't talk that much. He's very kind of like, we have to get the mission done. There's no room for emotion. If we don't get the mission done, then we're failing as Shadowhunters. Alec does go through quite a bit of development during the show. I mean, as I said, he doesn't open up to anybody. He really does not talk to anyone. He especially does not like Clary at the start because of what she's doing to Jace. Even though that's technically not her fault. I mean, Jace is his own mind. He's doing this because he wants to do it. Not really her fault, but Alec is blaming her because Jace wasn't like this before she came around. Although Alec is dutiful and he's very, this is the rules, this is what we're going to do, his morals get in the way of that. He himself knows when something is wrong. He himself knows when something needs to be done. So when that happens, he's very conflicted. And he's a very conflicted character. Most because, now I'm not going to tell you why, but there's a concept about him that leads him to be very, very, conflicted, especially when it comes to Magnus Bane. And if you ever watch the show, you've read the books, or I don't know if it's in the movie or not, you'll know why. But Alec is probably one of my favorite characters. If not my favorite, he's one of my favorites. Magnus is up there as well. It's just this development he goes through from being kind of not really going off the rules and kind of like being, I don't want to go off the rules, it's wrong, it's immoral, all that stuff, to realizing that sometimes rules are made to be broken. The next character I kind of want to talk about is his little sister, Izzy, or Isabella, as most people seem to call her. Isabella is kind of like the polar opposite to Alex, in the respect that she doesn't really care about the rules. She has her morals, she follows her morals. If she thinks something is wrong, she will go out and try and fix it. As well as that, she's very kind of like using her body as a weapon. She knows she's sexy, she knows that people want her, and she used that as a weapon. But that also can lead to kind of dangerous paths with her not really listening to anybody, and she's very kind of adventurous in that respect. Now, Izzy in the first season especially plays a major role in kind of, helping Clary to fit in, and plays a major role in Clary's training. Second season, Izzy is not as gripping. I don't really like her all that much. She becomes a little bit more conservative and she becomes a little bit more sensible. And I know it sounds stupid for me to say I don't like a sensible character. It's just, in the first season, it was very much, she was kick-ass. If she didn't like something, she would go out and change it. And second season, Izzy was very kind of like, she did follow the rules. She did do all that. She did everything to please her family, which is something that Isabel doesn't like, is her family, because her family are very kind of like, what you're doing is wrong, dress better, all that, this really controlling family environment. And she already has Alec for that. Alec is very protective of her, but she doesn't like that. She's not a little kid anymore. She can look after herself, and honestly, I agree with her. She is very well able to look after herself. It's just, I don't like the change she goes through. I really don't. And that's just my opinion. If other people are like, I like the fact she's more conservative, I like the fact she doesn't, really go off the rails a bit. Also, second season, Izzy kind of turns into a drug addict, which is really stupid. It's a really stupid concept to give a show like Shadowhunters, which is based around fantasy werewolves and all that. It's just really, really stupid to make her into that sort of character. The next character I will talk about right now. There's two more left, by the way. There's going to be a quick one on both of them because I'm kind of running out of time here. Basically, the next character I'll talk about is Simon, who is Clary's best friend, who also plays a major role in the show. The character of Simon is basically there to be Clary's rock in all these really horrible situations. With her mother being taken and all the stress of being a shadow hunter, Simon plays a major role in kind of helping Clary go through that. As well as that, as you can imagine, Simon has a really, really big love for Clary. almost as big as Jace's obsession with her. Difference is Simon's is far more healthy because he's fallen in love with his best friend, which is kind of cute. Now, Simon is the nerdy, awkward, kind of big-hearted character that cares for everybody, especially Clary, and will do anything to try and help her. Now, Simon does take quite a big development, is that he changed from a mundane and actually becomes part of the downworld when he's turned into a vampire. Yeah. Now, I may not have said in previous videos, and I can't remember if I did or not, I don't really get into like the shipping of characters in shows, most because I don't want to be disappointed by it. But I it was actually nearly unhealthy how hard I was shipping Clary and Simon. I just thought they were so cute together, and I kind of always been this kind of like big, kind of like mushy guy. In when it came to like best friends falling in love, I think that shit is adorable. But everybody else, especially my friend who recommended this to me, was like, no, 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 Clary and Jace all the way. And I was just like, I don't want that. I never wanted that. It was just, oh, it was, I don't know, just Jace and Clary, just they didn't gel. Simon and Clary, they always had each other's backs. They always were there for each other. They, for God's sake, Clary did everything to save Simon when he became a vampire. Like, that's, if that's not friendship, I don't know what is. The last character I'm going to talk about is Lucian Greymark, who is Clary's, for want of a better term, father figure. Not actually her father, but the father figure and the one she turns to for all those needs. So Lucian, or Luke as he's called in the show, as I said, is Clary's father figure. Now, he's very dedicated to Clary and her family, and it's mostly because it is told in the show that he's in love with Clary's mother, and he kind of sees Clary as the adopted daughter figure. But further on in the show, it's kind of given that he's more so not just looking after them, as more he's imprinted on them since he's actually a werewolf. This was kind of a nice twist, if you ask me, considering I really didn't see it coming. But it also makes a lot of sense as to why he'll cross so many boundaries in order to save Clary and her mother from any dangers which they may face. Now, Luke is actually one of the characters that kind of kept me watching the show, because I really wanted to see him kind of wolf out more, for want of a better term. Like, that's the term I can usually think of. But unfortunately that didn't happen a lot. I mean, he threatened it quite a bit, but never actually turned fully, which was a shame, because that's a lot of potential there that wasn't, that wasn't used. But that's basically what I wanted to say about the characters, because I know there's a lot more characters I would love to talk about. It's just I know I don't have the time. I'll go straight into like the pros and cons of this show, most because like that's what people usually ask for in reviews. Okay, big pro, very, very good characters. Not taking that away. Again, did not like the character of Jace, but that's probably the way it was meant to be. I wasn't supposed to like him, which is good in the script writing, and the interactions between the characters are quite good. For example, Jace and Simon, both of them like Clary, but Jace thinks he's got more of a chance with Clary because he's more confident, where Simon's like, yeah, but that's not always right. Jace is very headstrong, Simon's very cautious. They're polar opposites, but their interactions are quite funny, because they're always kind of like bouncing off each other. And there is kind of this mutual respect here, and mutual understanding that Clary is the main purpose here. She really is. The interactions between Jace and Alec are kind of okay. I mean, they are blood brothers and everything, but like that's all that is. It's just a constant reminder, yeah, these two are parabatai, and that's all there really is to it. There's no real actual... There's a little bit of background as to how they came about that, but it's kind of just a case of, yeah, we're blood brothers, I love you, dude, this kind of stuff. There's no real warmth to it, because it's constantly said. The storyline is very gripping, very good, and it's something I like a lot. It's like fantasy stuff, and I really like kind of like stuff. Hence why, like, my favorite book series, which I might do a review on, I don't know, is the Skullduggery Pleasant series. That is my favorite book series of all time, and if you haven't read that, I'd suggest you go and read it, because it's quite a good read. Now the critiques I will give it is season 1 especially. There's not a lot of combat. It's a lot of kind of really quick fights that end quite quickly with no real trouble for the Shadowhunters. It's not exciting in the sense that nobody really is in any trouble. It's kind of that thing. As well as that, although I do like the fact that Clary becomes this kick-ass Shadowhunter, the training is never really shown all that much. It's given a couple of times, but never really that much. So she kind of goes from being this really new trainee warrior who really can't hold her own in most fights to being this kick-ass Shadowhunter who can really take on nearly anybody. And for those of you who disagree with me, by all means disagree with me, but I'm just saying she took on the main antagonist quite easily and actually still held her own. And it wasn't like it was much of a struggle for her. But that's kind of another thing I had against, you know, the actual training process wasn't really shown. It was just kind of, oh, she doesn't know about Shadowhunters, now she does, she's badass Shadowhunter. Not really realistic in that sense. What I will say is that the show does get a little predictable. Now, for those of you who kind of be like, he'll turn and go, you don't know that was going to happen. Sorry to tell you, I kind of did. I kind of called it. Like, the ending, I'm not going to say what happens, but the ending, I kind of called it. Like, it was leading up, there was too much emphasis put on a lot of things in order for it to go the other way. I mean, come on, like, if you watch enough shows like I have, you learn the kind of like the key kind of like hints. If something is like stressed enough, it's not going to go the way you think it is. It's going to go the opposite direction, and it's probably going to like end up being a supposed twist, but I didn't really see a twist on it. Now, there were a couple of them in there where I'm just like, there were a couple of like twists and turns in there. I was like, whoa, okay, did not see that coming. But they didn't really play a major plot role. They just kind of were there as a shock factor, which again isn't bad. It's just, it wasn't as good as I hoped it would be. But that is not taking away from the fact that Shadowhunters is still one of my favorite series I have ever watched. I probably will go back and rewatch it again. It's just I have so many shows I need to catch up on, so much anime I need to watch, and so many games I need to play for the YouTube channel. But I will go back at some stage and watch it. I'm really hoping that there's a third season coming out for Shadowhunters. Not because there's any unanswered questions or anything, just because I really want to see the show go on. I mean, there's 6 books, so I would love to see the 6 books play out. I don't want to see another thing what happened where they made the first Golden Compass movie but didn't, you know, kind of go with the second and third movies. That was really upsetting to me, mostly because I really, really liked the first Golden Compass movie, and I love the books. It's just, I don't want to see that happen with Shadowhunters. My friend has read the books and seen the show, and even she says that if they continue it on, there's a lot more to come. So, fingers crossed that happens, and you know, I really, really hope that happens. But that's it for today. Thank you very much, guys, and please have a look at my other videos. I mean, I'm trying to get better at these. I'm trying to improve with every time I do them, and if there's something you want me to talk about, by all means, you know, put it in the description or comments or whatever, and I will talk to you later. Peace out, guys.